2020 has been a good year for declassified documents. From fleets of nuclear-powered drones to acknowledging UFOs are real, here are 10 recently declassified documents. Number 10. Communist Spying Bird Drone. A recently declassified report claims that the CIA worked on a nuclear bird drone to spy on communists during the era of the Cold War. And when I say bird drone, that's exactly what I mean. The drone was designed to be the exact size of a bird and to carry specialized spy packages into Russia and China while taking secret photographs. The clever part of this declassified mission was the unmanned drones would have been undetected because they simply looked like birds. Pretty big birds, too. While the point of the drones was to blend in like birds, they actually would have been about 5 feet, 1.5 meters long, and 7.5 feet, 2.3 meters wide, weighing about 83 pounds, 37.6 kilograms. This was known as Project Aquiline, and it was eventually terminated, probably due to immense technical complexity. The stealth drone was used in the late 60s and early 70s and reportedly flew out of Area 51. The original project envisioned a fleet of a dozen drones all shaped like birds. These drones would have been launched using nuclear energy, and they could have stayed flying through the air for up to a full month. This would have been the world's first robotic fleet of spy planes. The existence of it at all was only recently declassified by the CIA. The point of their unmanned drones would have been to collect intelligence in forbidden areas of communist countries. Number 9. Declassified FBI report on the Russia probe. According to multiple news sources, a newly declassified document has been released showing that the FBI continued to rely on intelligence from Christopher Steele, the ex-British spy who alleged direct collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign, even after the CIA strictly warned that Christopher Steele's allegations were unvetted. The declassified report reveals that the FBI pushed to include Christopher Steele's information in the intelligence community assessment regarding Russian interference in the 2016 Trump election, even after the CIA argued with them against it. And according to the CIA, it should never have been included in the report at all because it was simply unreliable information. There are multiple claims stating that Steele's information was completely debunked by investigators, but the FBI argued that the information was indeed relevant to the question of whether there was Russian interference in the election or not. In essence, this newly declassified report states that the FBI was using information even though the CIA pushed back against it, saying they were very concerned about polluting the intelligence community assessment with such unfounded materials. And now for number 8. But first, be sure to subscribe and let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. Number 8. UFOs over Scotland. Finally, a declassified UFO sighting. This is real, people. As recently as 2020, documents from the CIA's X-Files continue to be declassified. Yes! Love it! This newest declassified document was put forth by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, and it reports a mysterious incident back in the late 50s when radar tracked an unidentified flying object between 60,000 and 14,000 feet above Scotland. According to Wing Commander W.P. Whitworth, who had been based in Scotland at the time, the object was definitely made and could not be mistaken as a freak accident. It reportedly dove and circled in very distinct patterns that could only result from some form of intelligent control. The report ends in a statement that says evidence has concluded that UFOs are real and they appear to be intelligently controlled. However, at the same time, the X-Files says that the evidence was too sketchy to suggest what aliens may have looked like. Still, this is yet another declassified UFO sighting that points to extraterrestrial unidentified flying objects breaching Earth's atmosphere and flying over our cities. And it dates back as far as the 1950s. Number 7. British secrets. Here's something a little different. Rather than the UK government declassifying thousands of documents, they have actually just recently applied to keep over 6,600 files written by previous conservative governments hidden from the public by keeping them from being transferred into the National Archives under the Public Records Act. Basically, the British government has just censored and buried secret information that was supposed to be given to the public. And according to a report by the Daily Maverick, some of these diplomatic files involve Saudi Arabia and mercenaries. If that's not ominous, I don't know what is. Supposedly, one of the censored documents could have shed light on why exactly Margaret Thatcher's government refused to sign a United Nations ban on mercenaries back in 1989. This is disturbing on many levels. Rather than pushing forward with transparency and allowing the public to understand what the government is doing, they've instead censored their activities. There are now thousands of historic British files censored by an independent watchdog who approved over 99% of the government's requests for secrecy. This means that out of 100 files the government wants to keep buried, only one of them will be open for public scrutiny. This should really open people's eyes to how sneaky every world government truly is. Number 6. The atom bomb. A recent document declassified by the United States has shed some light on their decision back in 1945 to drop the atomic bomb on Nagasaki. It's important to understand that during April of 1945, the United States government was considering 17 different cities to drop the atomic bomb on. Some of these cities include Tokyo, Yokohama, Kyoto, Osaka, and Shimonoseki. However, this newly declassified document claims that Nagasaki was only added to the list of targets on July 24th, less than 1 month before the war ended and less than 2 weeks before the first bomb was dropped. After the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, the United States military officers stationed in Guam wanted Tokyo to be the next target. They actually wanted to drop an atomic bomb on a city that now houses roughly 24 million people. But in the end, Washington decided to drop the bomb on Nagasaki, only recently added to their list of targets, because they wanted to demonstrate the destructive force of the bomb. Additionally, orders were given not to bomb any other Japanese cities, as the US wanted to keep as much of the country intact as possible. Number 5. US Navy versus UFO. If you thought we only had one recently declassified UFO report, you were wrong. According to a news report by CNN, there's been a recently released hazard report that details encounters between the United States Navy aircrafts and what they claim to be unidentified aerial phenomena. This declassified information was put forward by the Pentagon, and there were even videos released of 3 different encounters. And this is brand new, released in May of 2020. During one of the encounters, the unknown aircraft was reported as being silver in color and the size of a suitcase. This was from March 26, 2014. The Navy FA-18 jet passed within 1,000 feet of the unidentified object, but could not positively determine its identity. The US Navy pilot attempted to regain some form of visual contact with the craft, but it slipped away. These extensive reports were previously labeled as for official use only, but they're now public for everyone to access. You can get your eyes on these reports thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. As for the videos, they show what appear to be an unidentified flying object moving quickly inside the frame of an infrared camera. Number 4. Military toxins. A recent collection of declassified Defense Department documents has been released by a bipartisan group of lawmakers. These documents are extremely depressing. They indicate that United States troops who were deployed to a base in Central Asia after the 9/11 attacks were most likely exposed to hazardous toxins and other dangerous substances, which many believe directly led to an increased rate of cancer among United States service members stationed at the base. The base is a former Soviet military installation known as the Karshi-Khanabad Air Base in southern Uzbekistan. The base is also known as K2. It served as a logistical hub for United States forces during campaigns to target the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan after 9/11. According to CNN, between 2001 and 2005, there were thousands of American troops positioned in this base. The newly declassified documents are claiming that the soil around the base was contaminated with jet fuel, and the inhalation of the vapors from subsurface fuel could have potentially caused serious health effects to the personnel of the base. Because of Soviet missiles that had been destroyed at the base, the dirt was contaminated by asbestos and depleted uranium. These are not the best things to be inhaling. Number 3. Chernobyl Files. Documents have been declassified by the Ukrainian government that show new information regarding the worst nuclear disaster in the history of the world. These documents are talking about the 1986 Chernobyl incident, and as reported by the Brussels Times, are published as part of a book called the KGB's Chernobyl Dossier, From Construction to the Accident. The documents contain an overview of the construction errors that went on at the nuclear power plant. These are construction mistakes believed to have directly led to the deadly explosion of the plant back in April of 1986. Remember, this is the deadly explosion that sent radioactive material up into the atmosphere, where it was swept across the globe. The area is now known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. The case of the nuclear meltdown has been closed for a pretty long time now, but with the declassification of these new documents, it becomes clear that there were known errors while constructing the nuclear plant that went unresolved and led to its ultimate failure. According to these declassified transcripts, these were deliberate violations of technological standards during the construction, and these violations led to thousands of unnecessary deaths. Number 2. The French Archives, Reburied. Something happened in France in early 2020. It was a similar thing to what happened in the United Kingdom. A French senior official changed a very important policy for the declassification of classified documents from 1940 to the present. This means that all of the French defense archives from World War II, from the First Indochina War, and from the Algerian War have been taken out of public view and resealed back into secrecy. This happened basically overnight, and it has caused massive confusion with archivists, and has halted all access to critical records that the public deserve access to. This is not only bad for historians, it's bad for everyone. It almost seems as if many governments are trying to submerge previously declassified documents to erase history as we know it. This may come across as a conspiracy theory, but when some of the most advanced nations in the world begin to cover their own histories, classifying documents that had already been declassified, something is seriously wrong. Number 1. Putins Profile. Newly released files showcase Russian President Vladimir Putin's KGB profile. This newly released file has 6 paragraphs that praise Putin as being morally stable, conscientious, and a very disciplined employee. It also claims Comrade Putin constantly improved his ideological and political standards. It even comes equipped with a nice photo of Vladimir Putin in his KGB uniform back in the 1980s. These documents were released to the public at an exhibition in St. Petersburg. While most of the information is not really new, it is extremely interesting to see the famous president's original file from roughly 40 years ago. The exhibition is dedicated to 90 different personalities and their accomplishment in military affairs, science, politics, and the arts. You can also see forms that were filled out by Vladimir Putin himself, who at the time had been a member of the All-Union Young Communist League. Which of these declassified documents shocked you the most? What do you think about classifying documents that had already been declassified? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time for another great video.